Ladies and gentlemen, I am a performance poet. Performance poetry is a weird art form, where people essentially get on stage and see how well they can paint a picture using only technique and language, and this for a lot of people is boring. Especially if you're struggling to connect with the performer, if the language seems pretentious, if the vibe comes across as insincere, or if they're just not good, you'll politely sit there and feel like somebody is wasting your time. The thing that I do when I'm trying to enjoy a piece of performance art is I try to sit on the intended wavelength of the art. If the poet has a lot of simple rhyme structure and is cracking a lot of jokes about the fucking cat, then you have to allow yourself to be the kind of person who's entertained by silly cat humor. If a person's going into linguistic detail about their appreciation of a city's skyline or a fine cheese they've been eating, then you have to put your head in a place where you can be content thinking about a bright Shinjuku skyscraper or melting red Leicester into your mac and cheese. The reason this all relates to Violet Evergarden is that Violet Evergarden demands you put yourself in a place where watching melodrama, watching people feel, is all the motivation you need to keep watching. At some point in the last 12 months, it felt like Netflix found an untapped market in the anime community, and all at once a slew of new anime came out of nowhere. Like there was Devilman Crybaby, there was something called B, and there was Violet Evergarden, which I especially took a liking to. Violet Evergarden tells the story of the protagonist of the same name, Violet Evergarden. She's a young orphan girl who was taught the art of combat and conscripted into the army at a very young age. So young, in fact, that her military training paired with her odd social disposition and lack of proper childhood means that warfare and the direction of her commander, who took her in as a child, is the only thing she really knows. However, in the present chronology of the show, the war is basically over. There is no place left for her on the battlefield. So instead, through personal connections, she's secured an apprenticeship in a line of business that has unique significance to this world. She is training to be an auto-memory doll. An auto-memory doll is basically a mishmash of like a writer, an advertiser, a stenographer, a poet, a romanticist, an interpreter. There's many things synonymous with this, but all in all, her job as an ex-emotionless killing machine is to best understand the intentions of her clients and put that on paper. Love letters, job applications, obituaries, and transcripts, no task is too great for the auto-memory dolls. The series focuses on the main character's development of emotional intelligence. She starts off as a cold, quiet void. She's inconsiderate because she doesn't know any better. She's blunt because she perceives no value in the way information is delivered. She sugarcoats nothing. If you're a fat, lonely cook, she'll outright just tell you, hey, wouldn't you be happier if you weren't a blob lord? Clean your room, go outside, all that shit. It's not really that extreme, but when she's surrounded by the war-torn, the grieving, or impoverished, she doesn't have the common sense to be comforting. But that is the duality here. Her job as an auto-memory doll demands that she understand the intentions of people and scribe them in a way that satisfies on a literary level as well as an emotional one. She will have to write love letters. She will have to write the last wishes of the dying, and she will learn how to do this with respectful emotional intelligence. This in turn helps her understand her own inner demons as she herself is grieving over the potential loss of her commander who's been missing in action for a while now. She needs to learn about the feelings of others to understand herself better, and this is her journey. On face value, the most striking thing about this anime is its visual quality, which is immediately and consistently gorgeous. There's a reoccurring scene where Violet compares a gemstone brooch to the eyes of her old commander, and the color work and calmness always makes me feel like my heart is slowing down, trying to ease its way into the heartbreaking implications of what my eyes are absorbing. The term sakuga, as far as I know what it means the parts of an anime where the visual quality goes up, where the studio is investing the most time and money. Think of Todoroki versus Deku, think of Saitama versus Boros, generally just think of fight sequences. But what I've come to appreciate about Violet Evergarden is that while it still has combat sequences, the most striking visuals appear to be reserved for emotional scenes and visual beauty. On scenes where they want you to buy into the headspace of the characters, it'll slow down or give you something gorgeous to look at, which connects a sense of beauty and awe to the mental journeys of the characters in the scene. I find the message of Violet Evergarden quite a strange one, but still a very interesting one. Violet Evergarden functions as a sort of romance story in reverse. The reason for this is because in Violet Evergarden, the main character is constantly plagued by something on her mind. She doesn't know where her commander is. The commander that she was essentially raised by has been missing in action up until this point, and she doesn't understand the emotions surrounding this, but she does know that she has this intense longing for a man she once spent a lot of time with. Most love stories have you watch a closeness grow between two individuals. However, in Violet Evergarden, you have to work backwards to find out to what extent the protagonist is already enraptured by this person, who isn't even in the story much. Romance stories very often ask the question, what is love? And rather than watch two people demonstrate it, in Violet Evergarden you have to watch the main character come to realize that, for herself, love is a deep abyss that she's already far down. She learns what love is by seeing grief and longing in others, and then finding a representation of those very same feelings in herself. And that feels like poetry. When I was about 13 years old, I was diagnosed with a social disorder that people love to make fun of on the internet. Asperger's syndrome. They sit you down and tell you, I've seen you've been struggling to make friends. It's because your brain makes you callous and inconsiderate, and hopefully by acknowledging that, you can work to better yourself. I didn't like this because it came with the implication that I was worse or flawed and people would make assumptions about my aptitude. But a part of me kind of knew that this was correct. I didn't, and still don't, always understand people in ways that others feel is obvious. However, poetry is a really eloquent way of people expressing how they feel. It puts a measure of skill on people's capacity to convey emotion, and by getting into this medium, it bettered my understanding of people emotionally. Violet Evergarden speaks to me in two ways. The protagonist's mental journey is comparable to a lot of people who have a real disconnect with social understanding, a lot of people who have sort of been undertaking their own journey to better connect with the world around them, and a lot of people who are going through the worst struggles connected to that misunderstanding. And it's inspiring to see a hero journey based on this premise. It gives me hope that everyone can come to understand the world around them if they're feeling like they're struggling. Secondly, the world of Violet Evergarden glamorizes literary skill. The auto-memory dolls are held to such a high regard because their writing ability is not common in this world. I think that language is beautiful, and it's kind of like an underappreciated tool, and giving a spotlight to those who are exploring how best to use it makes me think of a world built on music and theatre and poetry, and that gives me butterflies. Long story short, Violet Evergarden is a visually breathtaking anime that explores what it means to love, lose, and pick yourself up after. I feel like I leave a lot out of these reviews because I want you to go and fill in the blanks yourself. The supporting cast are wonderful, the environments are gorgeous, and the drama is tear-jerking. And if you're anything like me, you'll let out a single manly tear right as the curtain falls. Feel free to tell me what you think in the comments, but I thought Violet Evergarden was beautiful. Peace. Your only friend. I put my arms around you to stop this lonely night. You ask me to stay, but I don't think that's right. When you tell me you're in love with him, whoa, don't you know that really keeps me in? Yay, and I'm not that strong. Someone should tell you how much I love you, 'cause I really do.